I didn't believe the rule. Not really. It was one of those things old folks muttered while crossing themselves. A piece of village superstition, like not whistling at night or keeping bread upside down. My grandmother used to say it when we walked the old cemetery on All Hallows' Eve. Don't whisper the names on the gravestones aloud, child. Names have weight, and some things listen for them. I was 17 when I broke it, not out of malice, just boredom and the particular cruelty of teenage curiosity. The cemetery lay behind St. Agnes's Church, a half-acre of mossy slate and leaning crosses, tucked between a housing estate and a drowned oak wood. By day it was peaceful, rooks in the yews, dandelions cracking through gravel. By night it was just dark, and I, armed with a cheap flashlight and a friend named Leo who dared me, went there to prove nothing happened. We climbed the wall at 11:30. Leo carried a can of something cheap. I carried a notebook. Just read one, he said, grinning. Grandma's not here. I shone the light over the nearest stone. Elias Thorne, 1842 to 1898. Beloved husband. Easy. Harmless. 120 years dead. I whispered it. Elias Thorne. Nothing happened. The wind didn't change. The rooks slept. Leo laughed and cracked his beer. But something else laughed. Not with sound, more like a pressure behind my teeth, a warmth inside my own throat that didn't belong to me. I swallowed it, told myself it was nerves. We left after 20 minutes, and I forgot about Elias Thorne. For 3 days I forgot. Then the knocking started. It came from inside my walls. Not the pipes, not the house settling. A deliberate knock, 3 slow taps, pause, 3 taps. Always from the bedroom corner where the shadow pooled even at noon. I told myself it was rats. Then my reflection started smiling 2 seconds too late. I went back to the cemetery on the 4th night. Alone this time. The flashlight felt heavier. The yews seemed closer. I told myself I was being stupid. I just needed to read another name, a neutral one, to prove the first was coincidence. Margaret Blythe, 1901 to 1973. Rest in peace. I whispered it. Margaret Blythe. The air thickened. Not cold. Thick like breathing through velvet. And then I heard her. Not in my ears but directly behind my eyes. A woman humming. A lullaby in a minor key. I ran. That night I dreamt of a wedding. I was the groom. Margaret Blythe stood at the altar in a rotting lace veil, her mouth sewn shut with black thread. The priest had no face, only a third eye that wept dirt. When I tried to scream, my voice came out as their names, Elias. Margaret. Over and over. I woke with grave dirt under my fingernails. I hadn't left my bed. I should have stopped. Anyone sane would have stopped. But here's the thing about the rule. Once you whisper one name, you've already marked yourself. The dead don't forget who called. And the ones still listening, the hungry ones, the ones who never made it into consecrated ground, they start paying attention. My grandmother called me the next morning. I hadn't spoken to her in months. What did you do, child? Her voice was dry as bone dust. Nothing. There's a shadow on your voice. I can hear it breathing. I hung up, and then I drove back to the cemetery. Not to whisper, to undo, to apologize. But you can't unname the dead. You can only give them more. I walked to the oldest part of the graveyard, where the stones were so worn the dates had vanished. I didn't need to read them aloud. I already knew what the rule had turned me into, a door. The last name I whispered was my own. Not my birth name, the one the thing behind my eyes wanted. I found it carved on a sunken stone no bigger than my palm, hidden under ivy at the far wall. The name I'd been given at birth, but spelled wrong. Older, colder, a name that had been waiting for someone to say it aloud for 200 years. I whispered it. The cemetery went silent. No wind, no birds, even the insects stopped. And then I felt my body stand up without me. My mouth opened. Someone else's laughter came out, low, wet like a drowned thing surfacing. "Thank you," it said with my tongue. I was so tired of waiting. I still live in my house. I still go to work. I still smile at my mother when she calls. But the thing inside me doesn't sleep. It reads names every night, whispering them against the window glass, tasting each syllable. Last week it whispered my neighbors. Last night the postman's. I watch my hands type this. I feel the knuckles stretch a little too far. My reflection hasn't synced with me in 11 days. So here's what I've learned. The dead don't haunt graveyards. Graveyards are where they rest. The ones that haunt are the ones you wake up, the ones that hear their names from a living mouth and remember what it felt like to be warm. Don't whisper the names on the gravestones aloud, not because something bad will happen to you, but because once you start, you won't be the one who decides when to stop. And somewhere deep behind your eyes, something that was never alive will lean close and whisper back. Say another.